We back. Oh my gosh, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see Pepper. Pepper's behind me and he looks so cute. Oh my gosh. Okay, so welcome back to Bad Luck and Magic. We are entering into the eclipse portal here, okay? We are going to have an eclipse this week, and then we'll also have an eclipse towards the end of March as well. So we got a lot to cover today. In today's episode, the theme of today's episode is death of the good girl, okay? Because we are facing our fears and we're releasing perfection this week because we're gonna have a full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo, and as a Virgo rising, I'm ready to release, honey. Let's release this shit. No more being of service to other people at the expense of ourselves. We're not doing that. We are no longer doing that because we don't have space. We don't have space. And we know that it isn't even like doing us any good. It truly, to be a good girl, it helps other people. It doesn't help us. So let's get into it. So we have officially entered the eclipse portal, and in case you didn't know, every 6 months or so we have two eclipses, so a total of 4 typically a year. And when we have these eclipses, they always happen a couple of weeks after one another. So in March this year we'll have one on the 14th, depending on where you live, and then we'll have one on the 29th, and then we'll have 2 more eclipses happen 6 months from now in September. So when we have these eclipses, there's still new moons and full moons, but it's like they have extra energy to them, okay? We always say they're like supercharged new moons or full moons. And since the full moon eclipse this week is going to be happening along the Virgo and Pisces axis, it's going to help us release any emotional baggage that we're meant to clear out as we close out this astrological year. So Pisces is the last zodiac sign, okay? It's the endings, right? And Aries is the start of the zodiac sign. So really Aries season, which coincides with the springtime, it means that we are starting something new. We are starting a brand new cycle. So really this energy that we've been in since January, February, and now is still last year's energy. And I don't know about you, but I am so done. I am done with last year's energy. So now is our chance to really shed and clear out and release anything that we're still holding on to from last year, okay? And this eclipse will be shining a light on the parts of us that we expect to be perfect, organized, and always in service to other people. We have to let go of those parts of us that are stuck in rigidity so that we can move forward in a more fluid, creative, and intuitive way of being, which is Pisces, right? Like, because we have the eclipses, that means those are where the nodes of fate are, as they call them. So we have the North Node, which is the destiny that we're meant to move towards in Pisces. So those themes of intuition, creativity, compassion, being more fluid, that's where we're moving towards. That's where maybe we need a little bit more practice to express those parts of ourselves. Whereas the Virgo energies, that's where the South Node is. That's maybe where we feel more comfortable because that's just been our patterns. And with these eclipses that are happening along this axis, it's releasing those lower vibrational Virgo traits, which can be over analytical, rigid, perfectionist, and really, like, in a way, it gives me a feeling of like never being satisfied. Never being satisfied. And we want to move past that. And it's like, sometimes as a Virgo rising, like, I will want to have a template, and it's like, okay, like, this is exactly how I want to do this every time. And it's like, that's cute and all. It's nice to have a framework, but honestly, that holds us back. It's like, if we're just plugging stuff into an equation, it doesn't really leave room for creativity and innovation and really connecting with your heart, you know? Okay, so with all of that said, when we have this full moon eclipse, it's like the sun is going to be in Pisces, shining a light on the moon that's over here in Virgo. And it's like, okay, honey, we are now showing you where you're still stuck in these rigid overthinking patterns, and it may be uncomfortable, but it's being brought up so that we can be aware of it, and so we can let it go and express ourselves in new ways. Okay, so basically we are sacrificing, or at least this is how I'm imagining it. It's like we are sacrificing the good girl, the good boy, the good person that you were brought up to be, and allowing our true nature to be in the driver's seat. I don't know what your experience is with being a good girl or whatever, but I grew up in the South, and you know, when I was growing up, it's like, you are just supposed to do what you're told. You're supposed to listen to the adults or whatever. You know, you're supposed to wear this, don't wear that. This is how you're supposed to act. You know, you're always hyper vigilant of what everybody else might be thinking about you. And it's like, bitch, no, we're not doing that anymore. Like, that doesn't serve me. This serves other people. And we're done with that. We're done with that. Okay, so that's happening. And then interestingly enough, the ruling planet of Virgo is Mercury. And Mercury will be going retrograde the day after the eclipse, almost at the same exact point that Venus went retrograde on March 1st. So to me, this is like the universe saying, like, hey, like, I know you just gained some awareness into old parts of yourself that you're no longer wanting to carry with you. Now it's time to revisit the ways that you communicate and connect and think, so that you can re-emerge at the end of the retrograde in a few weeks with an entirely new perception of self. So I also get this feeling that at this point, because you're going to be more aware of your patterns, because the full moon is going to expose those for you, especially if you are a mutable sign. So if you are a Virgo, a Pisces, a Gemini, or a Sagittarius, it's going to impact you the most. Okay, so at this point, you see things. You are seeing how your patterns and ways of being and the ways of trying to be perfect or fit into this box is holding you back. And you're like tired of it. You're like, honestly, I'm glad this came up, because I am ready to just freaking deal with this. Like, it's like you're tired of your own bullshit. You know when that happens and you're like, you've been stuck in this cycle, or like doing something, a habit that, like, you know is not serving you, and then just one day you were just so fed up with the bullshit and you're like, no, I'm done. I am literally done. So this is giving us power, okay? This is giving us power to face our fears and face potentially the confusion that we haven't really wanted to face. And there's been a lot of confusion because there have been so many planets in Pisces, and Pisces is honestly hard to grasp, okay? So if you've been feeling a little bit murky, confused, not sure what's going on, by the time we get into April and Venus and Mercury station direct again, we're gonna have a lot more clarity. So I feel like because we've had retrograde after retrograde, it's been really difficult to make some forward momentum. We've kind of gotten it here and there, you know, thankfully Mars is now direct, so maybe we're feeling a little bit more motivated, but damn, we're just getting slammed with, I think, a lot of lessons. I feel like a lot of karmic lessons that we are needing to learn. And that's never easy. It's like, is this a test? Am I supposed to go this way or this way? I am confused. I thought this was how things were turning out. I thought I was on the right path. I don't know if I'm on the right path. Girl, honey, it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute because we are shifting into such a new era and space that we've never been before, all of us collectively. So it's like, March, let's get through this. Let's get through this, and then we're going to have a great spring, a great summer, okay? So just, the thing is, it's like with astrology, it's all about cycles, right? Like each planet has its own cycle around the sun, or its own cycle in general. And it's like, it's playing out a greater story in our lives. And it's like, the universe knows, like it's all in perfect timing. And when we have these retrogrades, it's like, that's good. Great job. Great. Let's run it back. Let's figure out what we need to do. Okay. So let's get into your mini scope. Okay. Let's get into your mini scope. Well, actually, sorry, before we do that, I just want to say, okay. Let's just do like a little quick overview of the week. Let's do that real quick. Okay, so Monday, the moon will be in Leo. Okay, so we're going to be feeling creative, expressive, maybe a little romantic. We don't have any exact transits that day, but Mondays are ruled by the moon. So Mondays are a great day to nurture ourselves and tap into our emotions and kind of reset for our week. Monday is like, let's ease into the week as much as we can. And then on Tuesday, March 11th, the moon will still be in Leo. And on this day, Mercury is going to conjunct or be right next to Venus that's going retrograde. They're both happening in Aries. So it's like on Tuesday, Mercury's going to come up to Venus retrograde and be like, oh, there's some new information here around what I'm healing in terms of what I value, my self-worth, my relationships, my finances. There's new information here. And it's not necessarily good or bad, but it's just Mercury, the themes of thinking, communication, is coming up against, you know, these themes of self-worth and values. So we're going to be thinking about that on Tuesday. And that makes sense. It makes sense because we're leading up to this big energy with the eclipse that will be happening on Friday. So just know on Tuesday, we're going to be thinking more about what our Venus retrograde theme is. So it's going to be different for everyone, but there is a sense of our past wounds probably coming up, or our past patterns that we really need to be honest with ourselves and understand why we continue to get wrapped up in those particular patterns and how we can break free from those patterns. Then on Wednesday, March the 12th, the moon will be in Virgo, so we're going to be feeling very practical. Maybe we're going to be focused more on our wellness and our health. It's also a good day to get organized and like tackle any of those tedious tasks, because Virgo is very good at the details. On this day, the sun, which is like our life force, our vitality, our ego, our sense of self, it is coming up against Saturn, and this is happening in Pisces. So Saturn in Pisces is really unveiling to us where we have been failing to set boundaries and where we need to set boundaries and where we need to be more committed, because Saturn wants us to reach our goals and our dreams, but if we are not putting in consistent work, Saturn's like, no, you got some work to do. You got some work to do. So when the sun comes up against Saturn, it's like, it might be pointing to something, a challenge, a restriction, something that you're needing to take care of, and it's important. It's not necessarily, doesn't have to be stressful. It depends on so many things, but really here you're going to want to tap into your inner power, tap into your intuition, because this is in Pisces, and figure out what you need to do. Like, if you've got bills that are behind, what do you need to do to get them paid? If you've got a conversation that you need to have with someone, what are the steps you need to take to make this happen? And then on Thursday, and I will say, because the sun conjunct Saturn is happening on Wednesday, we're leading up to this Friday full moon eclipse, it's like the pressure is starting to mount. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be a negative, but I want you to know, as we get closer to Friday, we're going to be feeling these energies more in a more potent way. Okay. And Thursday, the 13th, the moon will still be in Virgo. Thursdays are ruled by Jupiter, so maybe we're feeling more expansive. Maybe we're feeling like there are opportunities coming our way. The one thing I will say is, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury and Jupiter is all about expansion, we want to make sure that we're not getting overwhelmed and overthinking things. Then on Friday, we have, on the 14th, depending on where you are, we will be having the full moon lunar eclipse in Virgo. I think it's like really early in the morning. But yeah, honey, this is a culmination point. This is like the peak moment. Every time we have a full moon, it's like that's when we typically see the most external things going on. And sometimes that's when we feel the most emotional. It's like an emotional release sometimes with full moons. So what else do I want to say about that? I guess one thing I will mention, if you do want more insights into this full moon lunar eclipse, I invite you to join the Cosmic Club, and you can get your first month free. It's $3.33 the other months, but you can cancel anytime. Anyway, I basically give you more details about what this means, what the eclipse means, what's a ritual you could do, what a few journal prompts would be, what a tarot spread would be, and then also a more in-depth horoscope. So be sure to check that out. Something to think about with this eclipse is the last time that we had the South Node in Virgo, the North Node in Pisces, and we were experiencing eclipses along this axis was 2005 or 2006 and 2007. So think back to that time. Think about what was going on for you, because similar themes could be coming up now. Okay. So we kind of already talked about that. We're releasing parts of ourselves that are no longer serving us. All right. And then Saturday, that's when Mercury is going retrograde in Aries. And I get this sense too that because Mercury is in Aries, it's bringing up like how we express ourselves and communicate when it comes to our personal desires, our independence, our motivations, and kind of like our assertiveness as well. And then we end the week on the 16th. The moon will be in Libra, and that's more so about like harmony, balance, relationships. And Sunday is ruled by the sun, so it's all about self-expression, confidence, and our vitality. So it's a good day to have fun, Sunday fun day, check in on your goals, like do things that light you up. And since the moon will be in Libra, it's a good day to hang out with your friends and socialize. Okay, so since we're having this Mercury retrograde happening, I want to let you know, since we're having the eclipse in Virgo, that's where I'm giving you your mini scope. And this is where you are releasing overthinking and perfectionism, okay? So Aries, you are releasing perfectionism when it comes to your 6th house of wellness, health, daily habits. It's kind of like the structure of your day. Like, what is your daily schedule like? And are you being too rigid with maybe your health routines, going to the gym, what you're eating, all of that good stuff? Taurus, this will be happening in your 5th house. So it's releasing an old way of being when it comes to your 5th house of creativity, like your passion projects, your inner child, children, if you have them. It's all about like romance and hobbies as well. So like, are you being a little bit too restrictive and rigid in that area of your life? Gemini, this is happening in your 4th house. So like, what are you releasing about maybe how you're showing up in a rigid way in your home environment, your family dynamics, and maybe even your emotional landscape? Like, what brings you a sense of stability and security? Cancer, this is happening in your 3rd house. So this is about like releasing perfection when it comes to how you express yourself, specifically through communication. This also has to deal with short distance travel, and as well as your siblings, your cousins, and extended family. Leo, this is happening in your 2nd house. So it makes me wonder if you're feeling a little overly rigid when it comes to your finances, your material possessions, maybe even what you value and your self-worth. Maybe there's something there you're ready to let go of so that you can fully step into your self-worth and like abundance mindset. Virgo, this is happening in your first house. So this is all about you, literally like the self, releasing perfectionism, releasing overthinking how you're presenting yourself out into the world, and even what your personal goals are as well. Libra, this is going to be happening in your 12th house. So, you know, the 12th house is an interesting space. It is all about subconscious beliefs. It's about healing work. It's about introspection. So there's something here about going deep within and maybe allowing yourself to not be okay. Like, it's almost a sense of, with Virgo, it's like, okay, maybe always tending to other people and wanting to be perfect and wanting to get everything correct and right and every detail is great. But it's like in the 12th house, it's like maybe it's okay to fall apart, and maybe you need to fall apart a little bit so that you can see what is ready to be healed. Scorpio, this is happening in your 11th house. So are you overthinking? Are you feeling rigid when it comes to the communities that you're a part of? Your friend groups, even like social media groups that you're a part of, clubs. It can also be your hopes and wishes as well. Being more flexible, being more fluid in these areas. Sagittarius, this is happening in your 10th house. So you're releasing perfectionism when it comes to your career, your legacy, and your public image. Capricorn, this is happening in your 9th house. So it's like you're seeing where you have had a rigid mindset potentially, how you haven't let your beliefs change, and now maybe you're ready to expand your mind a little bit, maybe even expand through travel. Like the 9th house rules foreign long distance travel, so you could be traveling at this time too. Aquarius, this is happening in your 8th house. So is there something that the 8th house is like intimate relationships, money from other people, or like the debts that you owe. It's also about your own personal transformation and like mental health. So it's almost like relinquishing control over your transformation. Like you are transforming for sure. And it's like, if you're in this Virgo mindset, it's almost like you have to have the power, you have to have the control so that you feel safe. But it's maybe you're realizing where you've been trying to control everything is actually what you need to release in order to actually transform. And then last but not least, we have Pisces, and this is happening in your 7th house. So the 7th house is all about our closest one-on-one partnerships. So this is the house of marriage, it's the house of contracts, but it could also be your relationship to, you know, your therapist or your best friend, or I even see this like, you know, you and a parent or something. So whatever is going on for you, it's like you're releasing the need for perfectionism in that area. Maybe you're noticing what relationships are serving you, which ones are not serving you, or maybe where you are expecting perfection out of a partner, but really it's just reflecting back to you where you're expecting perfectionism out of yourself. So take it as it resonates, of course. So that's your mini scope. Of course, I'll go way more in depth in the eclipse post that I'll make in the Cosmic Club. So be sure to sign up for that. When I do the horoscopes for the new moons and full moons each month, I go really in depth. I go into various areas of our lives that are going to be impacted, and I also give insights on how you can utilize the energy so that you're working with the energies and you know if there is like a sticking point, if there is a challenge with this particular lunation, you're gonna know how to best deal with it. Because there's always, even when there's hard aspects in astrology, there's always a way that you can turn it into a positive thing. All right, now we got Tarot of the Week. And as always, like, you know, take a few deep breaths, check in with yourself, and I want you to think of which card would be calling to you. And this would be card 1, card 2, card 3. And let's get into it. Okay, if you chose card number 1, you got the Knight of Pentacles. So this is giving determination, long-term goals, hard work. You are taking responsibility for your dreams and you're taking steady, intentional action to get to where you want to go. So the advice this week is, even if progress seems slow, continue to stay locked in and you will definitely see results. Stay dedicated to the higher vision that you have for yourself, and know that the efforts that you put in now will not be in vain, because you're going to be able to reap those benefits at a future date. And honestly, the efforts we put in, they always compound over time. So like, something that came up for me with this is, even if you feel like you aren't seeing any external validation for the work that you've been putting in, like maybe you've been working on something for so long, and it just doesn't seem like you're getting any recognition or progress. Like, I want you to know that you're still gaining something from the work that you're putting in. Like, whether it be more experience, you know, maybe you're improving or learning new skills in this process. Maybe you are building confidence and trust in yourself. Maybe you are gaining more understanding about what you're trying to do and yourself in general. And that's important. Like, I know sometimes it feels better when we have this external validation saying, yep, keep it up, like you're doing the right thing. But honestly, this period where you're having to stick to something and maybe not be receiving that recognition is really important, because external validation can only go so far. At the end of the day, like, if we recognize from ourselves that we're putting in this hard work and all of this effort and we're sticking to it even when it's hard, like, that is going to build this unshakable confidence and foundation for all that you're working towards, so that when you do start to get external validation, it will be nice, you'll be grateful for it, but it won't be the driving factor. You know what I mean? Like, and also, like, if external validation is what is lifting us up, it's a house of cards. Because if at some point people start to look at you funny and are like, you suck, that is going to crumble everything. But if you are steadily building on this, and you're building your own self-worth and validation as you do it, like, just trust me, it's gonna be way better. And just know that everything is a stepping stone that's guiding you to where you're meant to be. So keep up the hard work and just trust. And then card number 2, you got the 9 of Swords reversed. And we love to see this reversed because when it's upright, that is all about like mental anguish and anxiety and overthinking. So when it's reversed, it is all about freedom and release, okay? And this is such a great card for this week in particular with this eclipse. But when it's upright, okay, we talked about that, mental anguish, overthinking. But when it's reversed, you are moving past this period of feeling terrified and being so in your head about everything. It's almost like you're just simply exhausted from that way of being and from being anxious all the time and wondering what if and trying to plan out your future with every detail. And it's like, you're like, what if I just refuse to be in this state of worry and concern and instead focus on what I can actually control, what I can actually do in this situation or the person that you're dwelling on, okay? So it's like, maybe I can't change everything about this, but I can change how I'm engaging with it, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna let somebody else steal my light, steal my joy, steal my hope. And the advice for this card is to really just, it's not easy, but it's like, it's okay to confront what's been going on in your heart and face your fears head on. Like, you are so ready for this, and it's going to lighten your load, honestly. Like, as you do this, you're going to be able to move through the emotions, literally helping this negative energy that's within your body. You're actually dissipating it so that it can change into something more positive rather than just avoiding the emotions and the reality altogether. Because when we do that, that energy is in our body. Those ruminating thoughts about this situation that we so badly want to be resolved, that is negative energy in our body, and that shows up in our lives. It shows up in how we take care of ourselves, what we think about ourselves, the action that we actually have energy to do day to day. Like, those emotions that we don't process, they infect the other areas of our lives. So luckily, you this week you're releasing that. You are gaining freedom because you are brave enough to look at what you have going on and you faced your fears. So hell yeah, props to you, because that is not, it's not an easy thing to do. And like, getting that card makes me feel like maybe you have been in this state of worry and overthinking, and like, my heart goes out to you because it's hard. It is really hard to experience those moments because it's like, you think about the past, you think about the future, you think about the past, you think about the future, and it's like, now it's like, I'm gonna focus on the present moment. I'm gonna release the past, I'm gonna release the future, and just focus on the now, and that is where the freedom is. So I hope that resonates, and I hope that's helpful for you this week. All right, and then card number 3, you got the High Priestess. Love this card. It's one of my favorites. This is all about intuition, higher consciousness, and wisdom. So you are feeling deeply connected to yourself and your greater knowing. And maybe you're starting to see signs and synchronicities and just feeling more supported from an unseen realm. And maybe you're beginning to feel more inner peace, maybe than you have in a while. Like, maybe you have been in this like hermit introspective phase where you've been trying to reconnect with your intuition, and now you're at this place where you're like, okay, I think I think I know what my heart and my soul is trying to tell me. And honestly, this is a true testament to the healing and the inner work that you've been putting in. And that's honestly a beautiful thing. Like, when we start to heal, when we've been doing the work for so long, like, we start to have these experiences that validate and let us know that we really are on the right path and it's safe to trust our intuition. So the advice here with this card is to continue to practice patience, balance, and trusting what your soul is trying to tell you. Take time for introspection and continue to gain more wisdom as you receive more insights this week. So because we have so many things going on this month with the 2 eclipses, we have Neptune moving into Aries, and we have Venus and Mercury retrograde, like, you don't necessarily need to make any decisions right now. Like, now is the time to connect with your intuition, and maybe it's helpful to journal. Like, maybe it's helpful to, when you get these intuitive messages, these pings, writing those down, keeping them in your notes app, whatever, so that by the time the dust has settled in April, you can kind of reflect back on the messages you've been receiving. Cool. This is great. I think the High Priestess, whenever I see this card, it always makes me feel protected and safe, and know that, like, if we follow our inner voice and our inner knowing, like, it's all going to be okay. Like, that's literally all we can do. Okay. So good luck. Like, that's an amazing card to get, and it's a card from the major arcana, so that's kind of giving, like, big major life moment. Okay. All right, and then we will round out this episode with our soul care inspo for the week. We got 3 here, and you know, with this, it's just suggestions of how we can work with the energy kind of in a cute, like, little self-care way, and just take what resonates for you. Okay. First, with the Mercury conjunct Venus retrograde in Aries, the soul care inspo is to be mad as hell. Yes, honey, get angry. So often we suppress our inner rage, and instead of expressing it in a healthy way, we internalize it, and the anger actually turns into negative thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and actions towards ourselves. And we're done doing that. We are done doing that. So what are we going to do? If you're frustrated with work, with relationships, with experience from the past that are still haunting you, I implore you to scream into a pillow, rage out at the gym, and have a bitch fest in your car where you can scream and pretend that you are confronting whatever or whoever is pissing you off. Okay? I don't know if you've done this before, but it's very cathartic. I promise you, you are going to feel so powerful and more in control of where you've given your power away. I think part of anger is feeling like you have a boundary that's been overstepped. So this process of expressing our anger in a safe and healthy way allows us, one, to dissipate that energy so that we can see things from more awareness and from a clear perspective. Like, when we're mad and when we're angry, but we're not really letting ourselves be angry, we can't see things clearly. So scream into your pillow, do what you need to do, be safe, obviously, but let that inner rage out. This all goes back to killing that inner good girl. Like, And not to kill her, but sorry, Pookie, you can't come with us. You can't come with us in this next era. Like, you were needed. You were so needed for our previous chapters, but this is where I'm just gonna leave you right here. I'm just gonna leave you right here, okay? And it's safe. It's okay to be pissed and mad. Like, that's a normal emotion. And if we can express it instead of pretending like it doesn't exist, we're going to be able to, like, actually do something with it. Like, all of our emotions are simply trying to tell us something. So, get mad. Get mad. Okay. 2. Sun conjunct Saturn in Pisces. This is going to be energy that helps us face our biggest challenge. So what is the most glaring issue that you've got going on in your life right now? Is it work? Is it connections? Is it money? Is it health? Maybe it's an area you have actively been avoiding so that you don't have to really see what's going on in that area. Now is your chance to say to hell with trying to run, because the issue just keeps growing bigger and bigger. So set some time aside this week to just deal with it, okay? Maybe you need to do some research on something. Maybe you need to weigh your options on a particular area. Maybe you need to pay a bill. Maybe you need to have a tough conversation. Whatever it is, I promise you, you have what it takes to handle it, okay? If it helps, and I know it will help, visualize yourself moving through this challenge successfully and let that version of yourself guide you. So, okay, let's say I've got some bills stacking up. Clearly there's a theme because I've already mentioned this example once, maybe twice. You got some bills stacking up, right? Set 45 minutes on your calendar, and once you have that time, visualize yourself tackling those bills, okay? Maybe you got to call a couple places because your bill's not correct or whatever, shit like that always happens. Visualize yourself doing it, getting it done efficiently, effectively, successfully, and then get to work. Get to work, okay? And if it helps to get yourself on like 15 minutes, fine, that's fine. But face your challenge, okay? Like, sometimes my old mindset towards challenges was, oh no, it's a challenge, that means it's gonna be hard and I'm gonna fail. Like, literally, that was my automatic mindset. But lately, I've kind of just thought of it more as a game. Like, okay, this is the challenge this week. Hey, like, how are we going to step up to the plate and like meet this challenge and like try to overcome it? Like, think of it like, the challenges they have on Survivor or whatever those shows are. It's like, okay, like, this is just a challenge. It's just an opportunity for you to duke it out and be like, this is what I've got. This is the best I can do right now. And through that process, you learn. Through that process, you build trust, resilience, confidence. And look, we're not always going to get it right. Most of the time we're not. And that's okay. That's what this full moon in Virgo is here to say is, hey, you didn't really get that right, but you know what? At least you did it. Because done is better than, what's the thing? It's like, done is better than perfect or whatever, because when you're trying to make something perfect, you don't actually get it done. So face your biggest challenge. You got this. And then last but not least, for the full moon eclipse in Virgo, you are going to write a eulogy for your inner good girl, good boy, good person, whatever resonates with you. So I want you to think of the ways that you're striving to live up to this version of perfection, where you so desperately are clinging to control and having everything figured out. These parts of us run deep, and they're connected to experiences from when we were young, and being perfect was the way that we could feel safe and loved and secure. So you've likely seen how this pursuit of perfection has held you back from enjoying life and expressing yourself in more authentic ways. So we have to release this version of us, because they are keeping us stuck, repeating cycles that are holding us back from the lives that we actually want, right? So we have to reflect back on our life and how this good girl persona has not been that avenue to safety that we once thought it was. So light some candles, set a vibe, and just take a few minutes to write a eulogy to the good girl that has gratefully played her part, but unfortunately cannot tag along this next era of life. Okay, like, she's gonna be safe right here. She did her part. Pop off, queen. We're so glad that this good girl mask persona helped us up into this point. You know, have that gratitude, but we're gonna leave you here because bad bitch coming through. Okay, she's taking the wheel. Okay. All right, I'm getting blinded over here, so that's where we leave it. As always, thank you for being here. I really appreciate your energy, because if you weren't listening, there would be no reason to do this. So thank you for showing up. I hope this has been helpful for you, and I hope you have an amazing eclipse. One thing I'll say about eclipses, and take it if it resonates, but eclipses bring destined change. Eclipses bring in and phase out things that are no longer meant for us. So if that resonates with you, and if that helps you as you navigate any things that come up over the next couple of weeks, like, just let you know, it's all here to support us for our highest and greatest good. All right, so have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Love ya. Bye.